What makes Mary Kay's revelation even more captivating is the way it strips away the thin layer of secrecy that often hides behind polished press conferences and routine coach speak. It exposes the truth that the Browns aren't just coaching a quarterback. They're crafting a psychological environment designed to sharpen him in ways that go well beyond mechanics and playbooks. They're treating every week like a proving ground, not because Shadur lacks talent, but because they believe the right pressure applied at the right time can unlock something extraordinary within him. And whether fans agree with this approach or not, one thing is clear. The organization is playing a long game that most people aren't even aware is happening. The Browns front office understands that talent alone does not build a franchise quarterback. The league is filled with gifted players who never reached their potential because the mental side of the game swallowed them whole. Leadership, emotional control, resilience, and hunger are the intangible threads that separate the good from the great. With Shadur, they see all the raw material, all the sparks of brilliance, all the traits that make evaluators lean forward in their seats when the film starts rolling. But they also see a young player whose confidence walks a tight line between fuel and fire. They believe that if they hand him too much certainty too soon, the edge that makes him dangerous might soften. And that is something they refuse to risk. At the same time, this entire situation is unfolding inside one of the most unstable offensive ecosystems in the league. It's like asking a young pilot to prove himself while flying through a hurricane. Every snap becomes a test of composure. Every read becomes a battle against chaos. Every drive becomes a fight for survival. And yet, in the middle of that storm, Shadur keeps delivering flashes that force people to reconsider everything they thought they knew about him. He makes throws that defy logic given how quickly the pocket collapses. He places touch passes in windows that have no business being open. He escapes rushers with footwork that looks more like instinct than strategy. And through it all, he maintains a level of calm that would break lesser quarterbacks. That is why Mary Kay's words carry so much weight. They aren't based on speculation or outside perception. They are shaped by conversations with people inside the building, by observations at practice, by real evaluations from coaches and executives who study Shadur every single day. They believe something is there. Something real. Something worth cultivating. And they're determined to handle it with precision, even if the approach seems unorthodox from the outside. But the psychological strategy comes with risks that cannot be ignored. Quarterbacks thrive on stability, trust, and clarity. They need to know the organization has their back, especially when mistakes happen. One poorly timed benching can shatter confidence. One ambiguous declaration can make a young quarterback feel like the ground beneath him is shifting. With Shadur, the Browns are gambling that the chip on his shoulder is strong enough to absorb that uncertainty, that the fire inside him is bright enough to burn through it. They're gambling that the monster they are shaping will not turn inward, but instead break outward and take over games with the same intensity he carries off the field. Everything around him, however, continues to test that theory. Jerry Jeudy's drops, tantrums, and inconsistency have transformed what should have been a reliable security blanket into a source of chaos. Every time a pass hits the turf, every time a route is rounded off, every time Jeudy loses his composure on the sideline, the burden shifts heavier onto Shadur's shoulders. And still he refuses to crack. Still he stands tall in the huddle. Still he stares down blitzes with defiance instead of fear. That mental toughness is exactly what the Browns hoped to see when they adopted this week-to-week approach. It is the trait that convinces them the psychological strategy might actually be working. But there is a deeper storyline unfolding that Mary Kay's revelation brings into focus. Shadur's journey is no longer just about proving doubters wrong. It's becoming a test of whether he can evolve into something more than a talented quarterback. It's about whether he can rise above an offensive disaster, an unstable receiving core, a collapsing line, and a fan base starving for hope. It's about whether he can turn this chaos into the forge that shapes him into a true franchise cornerstone. There is something undeniably compelling about the way he carries himself already. Even in losses, he responds with poise. Even when receivers fail him, he remains composed. Even when plays fall apart, he resets and moves on. That is not complacency. That is control. That is presence. And if the Browns are reading him correctly, it means he doesn't need comfort or certainty. He needs challenge. He needs a mountain to climb. He needs a reason to dig deeper than he ever has before. And right now, the Browns are giving him exactly that. The psychological game the Browns are playing is an experiment with enormous stakes. If it works, they may unlock a quarterback who becomes the emotional backbone of the franchise. If it fails, they may fracture a confidence that should have been nurtured instead of tested. But judging by Shadur's response so far, judging by the way he stands in the line of fire week after week without flinching, Judging by the way he refuses to allow dysfunction to define him, the Browns may be witnessing the early stages of something remarkable. Shadur Sanders is being forged under pressure most rookies never face. And sometimes, pressure is what reveals greatness. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Do you think the Browns' psychological strategy of keeping Shadur hungry is smart coaching or a dangerous gamble? Should they commit to him long-term now, or continue making him earn it week after week? And how do you think this approach will shape the quarterback he becomes in the years ahead? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this deep dive narrative, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another breakdown of the NFL's most compelling storylines.